Warrior Maven recently had a chance to go to Fort Worth, Texas and see up close just how an F-35 Joint Strike Fighter is constructed. Number of key engineering things such as how the propulsion is achieved and then also how the stealth is both achieved and maintained. Now when you think about the propulsion, one of the things I learned is you see those air ducts on either side of the nose of a fighter. Well, that's where the air gets sucked in, then the engine compresses the air, then it's merged with gas, so it's ignited, and then that creates the outward pushing thrust that gives the aircraft the unbelievable ability to reach incredible speeds. Now when it comes to the F-35B, there's a special kind of engineering that allows it to generate thrust just below the front section of the aircraft to achieve that hover and enable the aircraft to land vertically on the deck of an amphib. It uses something called a lift fan that is behind the cockpit, and it uses a split gear to send the horsepower from the main engine forward to create thrust underneath. So you have massive amounts of thrust underneath the forward part of the aircraft as well as the back, giving it that balancing ability to slowly lower back onto the deck. There are also, when it comes to engine propulsion, key heat issues. That's also a factor with stealth. So there are a number of interesting, innovative ways where they build from the beginning ways to cool the avionics so as not to generate a heat signature or make things counterproductive in terms of functioning at their optimal level. They run coolant through very small tubes and it gets to the place just near the avionics, and it's like a radiator that uses that coolant to generate very cold air and cool down the avionics. So you have all these important electronics that aren't overheated. Bolt, every fastener, every panel is specifically engineered to close back up and retain that smooth surface. Also,
one of the most fascinating parts of the F-35 is how every hinge, every panel, every bolt, every fastener is closed back up when we're done with the maintenance or the work on the airplane. And so that every time we take off in an F-35, we're in that perfect stealth, non-visible configuration every single time. And we designed it so that the stealth robustness will be maintained over the many decades that F-35s will fly, not just a one-off.
But when you look up close at how the different pieces, the metals and the wings and the fuselage are all engineered together, you can start to develop an eye for which variant is which. The F-35C, for example, larger wingspan, designed to land on a carrier deck. The F-35B, of course, has that flap at the top and then the dual trajectory underneath as far as the thrust for the vertical landing. And the F-35A, if you look at the side, there's the wing-mounted gun that's sort of positioned right between where the wing and the fuselage meet. And it's covered with an interesting contour, kind of like a dome, so as to preserve the radar signature lowering configuration. Lockheed's F-35 construction facility is this huge warehouse that's literally a mile long. You see the parts of the planes in different stages of development lined up one right after another. Now once an aircraft is finished in terms of its configuration, it's wheeled to another warehouse where it gets that special coat of paint. Kris Osborn, Warrior Maven.